Eliza was 17 when her family moved into the old Victorian house on the edge of town. The house had stood empty for decades, and whispers about its cursed history had swirled around the neighborhood. Her parents dismissed the stories as small-town gossip, but Eliza felt an immediate unease the moment she stepped through the heavy oak doors. The first night passed without incident, though Eliza found it difficult to sleep. Her room was colder than the rest of the house, and the faint sound of whispering seemed to emanate from the far corner, though nothing was there. She chalked it up to her imagination and the eerie creaks of the old house settling. On the second night, she woke suddenly, her throat dry. She had the strangest sensation that she wasn't alone. The moonlight streaming through her window cast long, jagged shadows across the room, and for a moment she thought she saw movement near her wardrobe. Her pulse quickened, but after staring for several minutes, she convinced herself it was just her mind playing tricks. But the third night was different. Eliza stayed up late, scrolling through her phone under her blankets, trying to ignore the oppressive silence of the house. Around 1 a.m., her phone buzzed with a text. It was from an unknown number. The message read, "Do you see me yet?" Her heart skipped a beat. She stared at the message, her hands trembling. The text felt like ice against her skin. She thought it was a prank, maybe her younger brother messing with her. But when she opened her door to check, the hallway was empty. Everyone was asleep. Returning to her bed, she locked her door, trying to shake the unease that gnawed at her. Minutes later, another text buzzed. "I'm in the corner." Eliza's breath caught. Slowly, she lifted her eyes to the far corner of her room. At first, she saw nothing. But as her eyes adjusted to the darkness, she realized the shadows seemed deeper there. Too deep. She reached for her lamp, but before she could turn it on, her phone buzzed again. "Don't." Her hand froze mid-air. The shadow in the corner shifted slightly, and she could swear she saw the faint outline of a face. Pale, gaunt, and impossibly thin. Its hollow eyes glinted faintly in the dark, reflecting the dim light from her phone. She scrambled for her lamp, flicking it on in a panic, but the corner was empty. The shadows were gone. Her phone buzzed again. "I told you not to." She dropped the phone, backing against the headboard, her chest heaving. A cold, unnatural laugh echoed softly in the room. It wasn't coming from the phone. The sound was behind her. She turned slowly, every nerve in her body screaming. Standing just inches from her bed was a figure. Tall, impossibly thin, its limbs bending at unnatural angles. Its face was a gaping void, black as the abyss. But she could feel it staring at her, feel its malevolence boring into her soul. Her scream caught in her throat as it tilted its head. A slow, deliberate movement. Then, in an impossibly deep voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once, it whispered, "You shouldn't have looked." The lamp flickered, and in the split second of darkness the figure vanished. Her parents found her the next morning, sitting on the floor, trembling, her phone clutched in her hands. The screen displayed dozens of texts from the unknown number. "You can't escape. I'm always here. See you tonight." Eliza never slept in that room again, but the messages never stopped. They followed her no matter where she went, and every time she turned off the lights, she could feel the shadows watching, waiting.